Assalamualaikum, selamat pagi. Anda menyaksikan Niaga AWANI. Kami bawakan secara langsung dari MITEC Kuala Lumpur, di mana hari ini merupakan hari terakhir bagi MIHAS 2023. Jika anda yang mungkin fikirkan, oh nak pergi MIHAS lah pada hujung minggu, tidak. Hari ini adalah hari terakhir. Jadi kena datang ke MITEC hari ini untuk mendekati dan juga melihat pelbagai produk-produk yang dipamerkan, dan termasuklah apabila kita bercakap soal produk ini adalah dari segi inovasi. Bagaimana sesuatu inovasi produk itu dilakukan dan juga apa cerita-cerita inovasi yang menarik untuk kita ketengahkan. Dan sudah tentu untuk bercerita dengan lebih lanjut berkenaan dengan salah satu produk yang cukup menarik sekali pada hari ini adalah bersama dengan saya adalah Dr. Nur Alia Abdul Rahman yang merupakan pensyarah kanan Jabatan Kejuruteraan Proses dan Makanan Fakulti Kejuruteraan UPM. Doktor, terima kasih sudi bersama dengan Astro AWANI hari ini. Saya nampak ada aiskrim banyak belakang ni. Jadi ceritanya adalah berkenaan dengan aiskrim. Okey, pertama sekali mungkin doktor boleh kongsikan berkenaan dengan produk aiskrim ini dan juga dalam banyak-banyak produk inovasi ni, kenapa aiskrim? Mungkin doktor boleh kongsikan ya.
Ya, Assalamualaikum. Saya Dr. Nur Alia. Produk aiskrim ini adalah hasil daripada teknologi formulasi dan juga pemprosesan yang dipatenkan di bawah Universiti Putra Malaysia. So hari ini kita berada di bawah booth Kementerian Sains, Teknologi dan Inovasi. Jadi produk ini di bawah jenama Appetite Ice Cream, di bawah Innovation Hub Putra Sains Park UPM. Jadi aiskrim ini dihasilkan untuk mempunyai kandungan gula yang lebih rendah dan juga kandungan lemak yang lebih rendah. Dan aiskrim ini juga dihasilkan dari menggunakan tumbuh-tumbuhan seperti durian, nangka madu, kelapa dan sebagainya. Jadi ia adalah daripada pertanian kepada makanan. Jadi kenapa produk aiskrim? Ialah kerana ia mudah untuk sampai kepada pengguna dan dalam bentuk lebih mudah untuk dimakan dan menggembirakan.
Ya, bila cakap gembira tu, everyone loves ice cream. Termasuk rakan-rakan saya di PCR tadi pun dia bagi tahu, oh sedapnya ada ice cream kat belakang tu. Okey, cerita berkenaan dengan ice cream ni juga doktor, mungkin dalam bentuk penambahbaikan dan juga inovasi. Dalam kita nak bincangkan berkenaan dengan inovasi ini, mungkin doktor boleh kongsikan apa bentuk penambahbaikan dan juga inovasi yang menjadikan produk ice cream ini adalah unik lah berbanding dengan produk-produk lain di pasaran pada ketika ini.
Gabungan formulasi yang sudah dioptimumkan dan juga kaedah pemprosesan adalah menjadi asas utama dalam penghasilan produk aiskrim kami. Seperti yang saya maklumkan tadi, kita mempunyai aiskrim yang mempunyai kandungan gula dan lemak yang rendah, dan tapi mempunyai kualiti tekstur dan kadar kecairan yang perlahan. Selain daripada itu, inovasi kajian yang sedang kita lakukan sekarang adalah untuk produk yang berasaskan tumbuhan, untuk mereka yang pelanggan yang mempunyai lactose intolerance, dan juga aiskrim yang tidak menggunakan gula putih untuk dan mempunyai indeks glikemik yang rendah.
Sebab kalau sebelum ni pun saya ada nampak juga laporan yang menyebut ada kajian nak guna misai kucing dan sebagainya, dah ada produk misai kucing. Tapi difahamkan itu belum komersial secara besar-besaran lagi belum. Okey, so mungkin doktor boleh kongsikan juga dari segi galakan lah kepada innovator. Kalau kita lihat inovasi ini pelbagai dan bukan sahaja di peringkat universiti, malah ada yang syarikat korporat, ada persendirian individu juga banyak menghasilkan inovasi-inovasi untuk menambah baik dari segi ataupun menangani isu serta permasalahan setempat dan sebagainya. Mungkin galakan kepada inovator di luar sana yang untuk menghasilkan produk yang berkualiti, menyelesaikan masalah. Doktor selaku pemain industri dan juga sebagai pensyarah juga, mungkin ada nasihat kepada mereka di luar sana ya.
Inovator semestinya sudah melakukan yang terbaik dalam menghasilkan produk yang menyelesaikan masalah pengguna. Jadi galakan saya kepada inovator adalah untuk berani keluar daripada zon selesa dan mengkomersialkan produk anda yang sudah reka supaya terus sampai kepada pengguna sasaran yang tepat dan dalam keadaan lebih baik, insyaAllah.
Difahamkan juga pada ketika ini proses sedang dalam proses untuk mendapatkan persetujuan halal dan sebagainya. Mungkin doktor boleh nak share sedikit part itu?
Dalam mendapatkan persetujuan halal ini, kita perlu memastikan bahan mentah yang kita gunakan mempunyai sijil halal mereka yang tersendiri, dan juga premis juga mesti menepati piawaian yang ditetapkan oleh institut untuk mendapatkan halal, sijil halal ini.
Halal. Dan difahamkan ada pelbagai perisa dan juga mungkinlah sebelum kita nak berhenti rehat nanti ni, mungkin doktor nak kongsikan sedikit apa perisa-perisa yang ditawarkan dan juga yang telah yang boleh mereka di luar sana, penggemar-penggemar dessert ini, pencuci mulut ini untuk dapatkan boleh dikatakan resepi ataupun resepi tersendiri mungkin di peringkat yang dilakukan oleh pasukan doktor?
Betul, ya betul. Okey, kita ada menghasilkan pelbagai jenis perisa, tapi untuk MIHAS kali ini istimewa kita bawakan aiskrim berasaskan durian musangking, aiskrim berasaskan kelapa dan gula apung. So kita panggil coconut gula apung. Kita ada juga aiskrim berasaskan kopi, kita sebut latte di sini, dan juga matcha aiskrim. Selain daripada itu kita ada juga nangka madu, kita ada vanila dan coklat seperti biasalah, dan menggunakan hasil pertanian lain juga. Cempedak also ada juga.
Dan bercakap soal hasil pertanian ini, saya nak kongsikan juga kepada anda di luar sana, kerana sebelum ini kita pernah highlight lah isu sebagai contoh daripada kelapa, contoh daripada dijual kelapa itu sahaja, tetapi ini adalah antara produk hiliran, the downstream part of the produk pertanian itu sendiri. Mungkinlah doktor boleh nak kongsi sedikit melihat kepada terutama dalam industri makanan dan juga bagaimana pentingnya untuk menilai tambah nilai sesuatu produk itu daripada harga sebuah ataupun sebiji kelapa itu. Sebaliknya ada banyak lagi produk-produk yang boleh dihasilkan. Mungkin doktor ada pandangan berkenaan dengan nak menilai tambah suatu produk ini.
Ya betul. Produk hasil pertanian seperti buah-buahan, contohnya seperti durian, nangka madu, kelapa, pisang, kita boleh jika ada lambakan yang kita tak dapat jual dan tak dapat digunakan, boleh untuk ditukarkan, dibuat dalam bentuk aiskrim salah satunya. Kerana bila dalam bentuk aiskrim, dia berada dalam keadaan sejuk beku. Jadi kita dapat simpan dia dalam tahan lama. Jadi dan mudah and enjoyable untuk dinikmati oleh semua.
Mungkin dalam perancangan di pasukan doktor sendiri selepas ini apa perancangannya, apa yang nak disasarkan dan juga termasuk dalam bentuk pemasaran dan juga kerana kalau kita lihat pasaran di Malaysia ini agak kecil kalau kita bandingkan dengan negara jiran, sebagai contoh Indonesia, pasaran mereka besar, tapi ini adalah produk yang boleh dikatakan setiap peringkat masyarakat suka, sama ada warga emas ke, kanak-kanak ke, yang muda ke, memang akan suka produk-produk seperti ini, dessert, pencuci mulut ini. Mungkin perancangan pasukan doktor selepas ini.
Okey, bagi pasukan kami, kita akan menghasilkan produk yang sihat terutamanya, especially macam saya maklumkan tadi, berdasarkan tumbuh-tumbuhan dan juga mempunyai kandungan gula yang rendah dan tidak menggunakan langsung gula putih. Jadi kita lebih ke arah itu dan kita akan memperkenalkan lagi kepada masyarakat tentang kebaikan kita masukkan tumbuh-tumbuhan dan buah-buahan di dalam makanan untuk sebagai makanan yang berkhasiat untuk semua, insyaAllah.
Kita berada di MIHAS seiring dengan berlangsungnya MIHAS pada kali ini. Sudah tentu kita tidak boleh lari dari topik berkenaan dengan halal. So mungkin harapan doktor untuk industri halal Malaysia, terutamanya untuk produk itu dikembangkan dan dipasarkan ke peringkat global. Ini satu usaha yang sedang giat sebenarnya dilakukan. Mungkin harapan doktor sebagai pemain industri?
Okey, harapan saya untuk proses pensijilan halal ini akan menjadi semakin baik di masa akan datang dan dapat proses untuk mendapatkan pensijilan itu menjadi lebih cepat dan pantas dapat untuk memajukan usahawan di negara kita ini. Tambahan lagi, saya nak maklumkan di Universiti Putra Malaysia kita ada Institut Penyelidikan Produk Halal, yang mana institut ini dapat membantu inovator-inovator di UPM dan juga di luar sana yang ingin mendapatkan persijilan halal. IPPH boleh membantu kita untuk tujuan tersebut.
Okey, difahamkan pada ketika ini macam mana nak sebutnya, appetite ice cream. Okey, di mana orang kalau ada mereka di luar sana yang nak cuba, nak rasa ni, dekat mana mereka boleh dapatkan produk ini, doktor?
Okey, untuk produk Appetite Ice Cream ini boleh dapatkan di outlet Appetite Village di Saujana Impian Kajang, Appetite Village Tropicana Aman Rimbayu dan juga Appetite Village Putrajaya Presin 15. Dan kita ada juga lah di beberapa di Faculty of Engineering, kita ada di kedai buku Jurulatera UPM.
Bercakap berkenaan dengan UPM ini, difahamkan antara mereka individu-individu yang bekerja untuk menguruskan produk ini dan juga syarikat juga adalah dalam kalangan lepasan graduan pelajar juga. Mungkin doktor boleh kongsikan, kerana akhirnya mereka bukan sahaja belajar dari segi untuk inovasi menghasilkan produk, tetapi mereka juga belajar dalam bentuk keusahawanan dan sebagainya, doktor.
Yes, untuk staff kita, memang kita ambil daripada Fakulti Kejuruteraan sendiri. Kita ada daripada Kejuruteraan Proses dan Makanan, Kejuruteraan Kimia, dan kita juga ada pelajar internship yang nak buat internship dengan kita. Sudah beberapa tahun kita ambil daripada Kejuruteraan Proses dan Makanan, yang mana kita train mereka untuk pemprosesan aiskrim, dan juga kita ajar untuk mereka keluar dan seperti pergi event macam ni, untuk mereka belajar komunikasi dan juga keusahawanan, insyaAllah.
Dan sudah tentu ini merupakan ataupun media MIHAS ini merupakan salah satu medium ataupun platform untuk bukan sahaja mempromosikan produk, tetapi juga untuk melahirkan bakat-bakat dan juga meningkatkan kemahiran soft skill dan sebagainya dari segi nak jual beli, nak communication, nak persuade dan sebagainya. Seronok sekali berbual bersama dengan doktor. Terima kasih, semoga terus maju jaya dan terus menginspirasikan lebih ramai individu-individu untuk menghasilkan inovasi-inovasi yang lebih baik, terutamanya dalam kita meningkatkan kualiti makanan dan juga sektor pertanian di Malaysia. Dan terima kasih sekali lagi Dr. Nur Alia Abdul Rahman, Pensyarakanan Jabatan Kejuruteraan Proses dan Makanan Fakulti Kejuruteraan UPM, berkongsi pandangan cerita berkenaan dengan apetit aiskrim ini. Selepas ini baru saya nak rasa lah. Selepas ini kita nak berhenti rehat seketika. Selepas ini ada seorang lagi tetamu untuk berkongsi cerita berkenaan dengan halal. Apa ceritanya akan saya bawakan selepas ini. Kita berhenti rehat seketika, bersambung selepas ini.
Magnum Matcha Crumble baru. Aiskrim matcha lembut, salutan coklat tebal dan cepisan biskut rangup. Magnum Matcha Crumble baru. Magnum, kenikmatan sejati.
Macam betul je kan? Cerita sebenarnya, kerap pakai getah rambut tebal dan ketat, kalau tak dijaga, rambut boleh gugur. Dove Micellar baharu kini mengandungi vitamin biotin untuk rambut 10 kali lebih kuat.
You kena yakin dengan diri you. Kalau you tak yakin dengan diri you, you bawalah barang bagus macam mana pun, you tak akan boleh pergi.
Yang kita paling susah ni sebenarnya konsisten untuk marketing. Contoh satu hari 5 post. Orang ramai tak nak buat tu. Kebanyakan dengan harapan 1 kali 2 kali post terus viral. Tak boleh.
Umur just angka. So how you think is your brilliant things yang saya rasa mahal. Dia kunci kejayaan tak ada cerita anak muda, orang tua semua boleh berjaya.
Pertama sekali kita kena pandai baca ataupun pandai mengekori zaman ataupun perubahan-perubahan digital.
Kiev menganggarkan Rusia menghantar lebih 400,000 askar di kawasan yang dikawalnya di timur dan selatan Ukraine.
Sekitar 8,000 kes kehilangan kad pengenalan MyCard direkodkan di seluruh negara setiap tahun.
MCMC telah mengadakan perbincangan kawal selia dengan platform dalam talian terkemuka iaitu Meta dan Google bagi menangani cabaran media dalam talian.
Ikuti perkembangan terkini. Buletin Awani 12.30 hari.
Hai, saya Nala Huda, kakak fiber anda. Dan hari ini saya ada satu soalan nak share dari Aida Bahar. Dia tanya, Wi-Fi cover satu rumah ke? Handphone boleh cover? Dah tentu Astro Fiber dengan router canggih Wi-Fi 6 boleh cover satu rumah, satu family boleh pakai. Bukan saja semua handphone boleh jimat data pakai Wi-Fi. Anak-anak nak buat homework online pun senang. Ini ada satu lagi tips jimat kita nak bagi tahu. Bila you nak keluar rumah, downloadlah cerita siap-siap dekat Astro Go app tu. Lepas tu, boleh layan dalam train, dalam kereta, dalam flight. Tak kacau data handphone you langsung. Jimat dah tu Aida. Ada lagi soalan? Tanyalah. Gunakan hashtag Tanya Kakak Fiber. Okey?
Okey, baik, bertemu kembali dalam Niaga Awani. Kita masih lagi berada di MITEC Kuala Lumpur bersempena dengan MIHAS 2023 Malaysia International Halal Showcase. MIHAS ini dilihat merupakan platform bagi terutamanya kalau kita nak meneliti peranan yang dimainkan oleh HDC, di mana saya berada di booth HDC tingkat 3. Kalau anda datang, hari ini adalah hari terakhir. Okey, saya nampak ada yang cakap, oh nak datang weekend lah untuk MIHAS ni. Weekend tak ada ya, hari ini adalah hari terakhir. Jadi datang hari ini untuk melihat dan juga memahami bagaimana industri halal Malaysia, produk-produk yang ada dan juga bagaimana nak memperluaskan pasaran. Jadi antara yang penting peranan adalah yang dimainkan oleh HDC, Halal Development Corporation. Jadi tak nak bazir masa panjang untuk kita mengulas dengan lebih lanjut. Bersama dengan saya adalah saudara Khairul Azwan Harun yang merupakan pengerusi Halal Development Corporation Berhad. Assalamualaikum. Apa khabar?
Assalamualaikum Haris, apa khabar? Sihat?
Khabar baik, alhamdulillah. Pertama sekali mungkin nak kongsikan dari segi peranan lah HDC pada ketika ini dan juga perancangan pada masa akan datang.
Okey. Halal Development Corporation ni dia satu agensi di bawah Kementerian Pelaburan, Perdagangan dan Industri MITEC yang ditubuhkan pada tahun 2016 yang lalu lah ya. Jadi 2006 ya. Jadi kita ni berperanan untuk membantu kerajaan dalam membangunkan industri halal itu sendiri secara lebih tersusun dan sistematik. Sebab itu kerajaan pada tahun ini kita melancarkan satu plan induk yang kita namakan Halal Industri Master Plan 2030. Yang ini menjadi panduan kita supaya ekonomi halal Malaysia ni dapat kita perkasakan. Menjelang tahun 2030 ni kita mensasarkan nilai dagangan kita ataupun nilai ekspor kita mencecah lebih 230 bilion ringgit. Tahun 2022 kita berjaya merekodkan hampir 60 bilion ringgit. Alhamdulillah kerajaan telah menyatakan komitmen dasar pun ada dalam kajian separuh penggar rancangan Malaysia ke-12 baru-baru ini pun Yang Amat Berhormat Perdana Menteri menyatakan bahawa industri halal ni diberi perhatian dan pada tahun 2025 kita mensasarkan sumbangan nilai ekspor daripada industri halal ni akan mencapai sehingga 63 bilion ringgit. Dan insya-Allah HDC ni kita memang berperanan untuk meningkatkan nilai dagangan produk-produk halal kita terutama ke pasaran antarabangsa. Jadi kita hari ini bekerjasama dengan badan persijilan yang unggul iaitu JAKIM lah, Jabatan Kemajuan Islam Malaysia. Dan arahan Yang Amat Berhormat Perdana Menteri serta Timbalan Perdana Menteri Yang Amat Berhormat Timbalan Perdana Menteri Datuk Seri Dr. Ahmad Zahid Hamidi selaku pengurusi Majlis Pembangunan Industri Halal telah memberi 7 pengarahan sebenarnya, dan antaranya adalah supaya proses kelulusan persijilan itu boleh dipermudahkan dan dipercepatkan oleh pihak JAKIM. Dan beliau dengan jelas menyatakan supaya ianya boleh dibuat kelulusan itu dalam tempoh 30 hari. Jadi tak payah nak tunggu berbulan-bulan. Jadi ini satu saya fikir cabaran yang besar bagi pihak kami dan pihak JAKIM.
Pada masa sama tidak berkompromi kepada semua
segala. Ya, dari soal integriti, soal memenuhi piawaian itu tiada kompromi lah. Ya. Tapi peranan HDC ni kerana arahan Yang Amat Berhormat Perdana Menteri dan juga Timbalan Perdana Menteri serta Menteri kita Yang Berhormat Datuk Seri Tunku Zafrul, kita mesti adakan sinergi di antara badan-badan yang bertanggungjawab, agensi-agensi yang bertanggungjawab dalam ekonomi halal Malaysia ini. Antaranya HDC, JAKIM, Jabatan Agama Islam Negeri dan juga badan-badan lain yang terlibat dalam dalam urusan persiapan untuk permohonan sebagai contoh konsultan audit halal ya. Jadi kita kena bekerjasama kerana saya fikir kalau kita berterusan bekerja dalam budaya silo, saya tak nampak kita boleh mengekalkan kedudukan Malaysia pada posisi nombor 1 dan menjamin kelestarian ekonomi halal Malaysia ini terus berada pada kedudukan yang unggul di pesada global. Malaysia ni menjadi rujukan oleh banyak negara dan kita punya kepakaran, terutama ekosistem halal kita ni senantiasa didambakan, diperlukan oleh kebanyakan negara. Ya. Jadi di pihak HDC kita pun memperkenalkan apa yang kita panggil diplomasi halal. Ya. Kita bekerjasama dengan pihak MITEC dan juga pihak Kementerian Luar Negara. Kita mahu memperkenalkan diplomasi halal ini kerana kita yakin ini merupakan strategic tool lah. Dan ianya akan menjamin kedudukan dan posisi Malaysia nombor 1 di samping kita berusaha untuk memperkasa ekonomi halal kita melalui peningkatan nilai dagangan kita. Sebagai contoh, kita diminta oleh pelbagai negara, terutama negara-negara jiran dalam rantau ASEAN ini, untuk membantu mereka bagi menubuh ataupun mencipta ekosistem halal di negara tersebut. Jadi dengan kepakaran kita, dengan ekosistem yang ada, dengan pengetahuan kita, kita boleh menyumbang untuk kita membantu mereka. Tapi pada masa yang sama, dalam konteks diplomasi halal ini, dia two-way traffic. Betul. Jadi bila kita membantu mereka, pada masa yang sama apa peluangan untuk kita. Betul. Jadi arahan yang berhormat Perdana Menteri adalah apabila kita membantu negara-negara yang memerlukan kepakaran dan pengetahuan kita, mereka membuka ruang dan peluang untuk syarikat-syarikat kita juga terlibat, melabur dan juga membawa produk-produk tempatan Malaysia kepada pasaran baru tersebut.
So capital market yang
baru fair lah. Jadi soal dalam konteks diplomasi halal ni is a two-way traffic. Bila kita membantu, kita juga berpeluang untuk dibantu. Jadi sekaligus kita boleh membantu mengembangkan nilai ekspor kita dan juga ia je memberi jaminan kepada rantaian bekalan. Sama ada food security ataupun bahan-bahan ingredients yang diperlukan untuk sektor pengilang dan pengeluar kita. Bahkan kerajaan kita memberi tumpuan kepada 6 key sectors. Antaranya pharmaceutical, cosmetical ataupun personal care, F&B itu sendiri. Kan? Jadi benda ni semua memerlukan akses kepada rantaian bekalan, supply chain di peringkat global. Kerana kita tidak boleh bergantung semata-mata rantaian bekalan di Malaysia. Jadi dia memerlukan di peringkat rantau ASEAN, rantau Asia dan juga peringkat global. Jadi dengan diplomasi halal ini, kita yakin ianya memberi jaminan kepada perkara ini. Dan yang terakhir saya nak sebutkan juga soal pendigitalan, kena ada technological adoption. Kerana untuk menjamin kelestarian kedudukan ekonomi Malaysia, ekonomi halal Malaysia ini terus mengungguli ekonomi halal dunia. Kita dah tiba waktu masa dan ketika kena ada aplikasi STI, Sains, Teknologi dan Inovasi itu. Jadi kita pun akan bekerjasama dengan pihak-pihak yang berwajib, terutama Kementerian Musti, untuk melihat sejauh mana technological adoption dan juga inovasi itu boleh kita ketengahkan lagi supaya banyak business processing di peringkat pengeluar-pengeluar pengilang dan juga syarikat-syarikat boleh berpindah kepada bukan perniagaan tapi dia punya urus niaga tu berdasarkan pada digital dan juga inovasi. Jadi ini semua akan menjamin kelestarian ekonomi halal Malaysia itu sendiri dan kita mahu Malaysia ini tidak ketinggalan dalam soal teknologi dan inovasi.
Bercakap soal teknologi inovasi juga dan juga moving forward menuju ke hadapan adalah penting untuk kita teliti dari segi pembiayaan untuk membawa mereka ini keluar dari, kerana pasaran di Malaysia ini kita tahu kecil. Kalau kita nak bandingkan contoh potensi market halal besar seperti Indonesia sebagai contoh, mungkin peranan HDC di situ dalam bentuk pembiayaan.
Sebab tu pada hari pertama dan hari kedua MIHAS, HDC kita ada perjanjian persefahaman dan antaranya kita telah mengadakan perjanjian persefahaman dengan pihak SME Bank. Dan sebenarnya banyak institusi perbankan pun dah datang bertemu dengan HDC dan mahu menjalin kerjasama dengan kita. Kita mahu bersama dengan mereka supaya boleh menyediakan akses pembiayaan yang lebih mudah dengan terma-terma yang tidak begitu ketat. Urusan kelulusan pembiayaan pun boleh dilakukan dengan cepat dengan syarikat, bukan dengan institusi-institusi perbankan tempatan. Dan saya yakin kalau akses kepada pembiayaan ini boleh kita perbanyakkan lagi, maka banyak syarikat-syarikat Malaysia yang berpeluang untuk mendapat pembiayaan bagi membawa produk dan perkhidmatan mereka ke peringkat global. Betul. Antaranya mungkin dana-dana yang diperlukan untuk mengembangkan kapasiti mereka, dan juga dana-dana yang diperlukan untuk tujuan marketing dan advertising untuk menembusi pasaran global di negara-negara lain. Nah, maklumat-maklumat serta market intelligence mengenai pasaran halal global ni memang ada di HDC. Kerana itulah peranan HDC untuk kita membuat penyelidikan terhadap pasaran-pasaran potensi-potensi ekonomi halal di seluruh dunia. Jadi dengan pengetahuan dan juga database yang kita ada, kita boleh bekerjasama, dan sebenarnya banyak bank-bank yang sudah bersedia dan telah menyediakan dana-dana khusus untuk membantu syarikat-syarikat dan pemain-pemain industri halal ni kan. Jadi saya yakinlah kalau kerjasama ini boleh diteruskan, insya-Allah. Saya ingat mulai tahun 2024 akses pembiayaan kepada syarikat-syarikat dan pemain-pemain industri halal ni akan dapat diperbanyakkan lagi dan dipermudahkan.
Mungkin berbaki dalam seminit dua sebelum kita mengakhiri perbincangan ini, bercakap berkenaan dengan MIHAS 2023, bagaimana sambutannya dan juga mungkin melihat kepada impak dan juga secara rumusan secara ringkaslah melihat hala tuju industri halal Malaysia ini. Tuan.
Alhamdulillah saya tengok penganjuran MIHAS kali ini sangat baik, dan saya ucap tahniah kepada pihak Madrid kerana MIHAS ni adalah sebahagian daripada program besar iaitu Global Halal Summit. HDC pun kita ada kita punya our own program iaitu Halal Sector Forum, iaitu sebuah persidangan yang berlangsung selama 2 hari yang dirasmikan sendiri oleh Yang Amat Berhormat Timbalan Perdana Menteri, iaitu forum yang mengumpulkan pemain-pemain industri, pakar-pakar industri halal, usahawan-usahawan daripada pelbagai bidang. Kita duduk berbincang 2 hari, mendengar pandangan daripada ahli-ahli panel dan moderator, serta kita mengumpulkan maklumat-maklumat. Alhamdulillah sambutan Halal Sector Forum itu sangat berjaya. Dan GHAS 2023 ni saya ingat penglibatan syarikat daripada luar negara pun banyak. Kita ada lebih 47 buah negara yang terlibat. Kerana itulah menjadi testimoni bahawa Malaysia ni senantiasa menjadi rujukan negara-negara luar ke atas ekonomi halal yang ada. Dan memang minat mereka untuk membangunkan ekonomi halal dan ekosistem halal itu sangat ketara. Kita pun pihak HDC telah menandatangani perjanjian untuk membantu kerajaan Uruguay sebagai contoh. Dan dalam pipeline kita Vietnam dan Filipina. Dan sebelum itu pun ada banyak negara lain dah. Saya ingat bolehlah saya berkongsi nanti negara-negara mana yang memang kita akan bantu. Jadi mereka ni datang sendiri. Bukan kita pula yang pergi ke negara-negara tersebut untuk mempromosi, tapi mereka datang sendiri. Kerana apa? Kerana kita punya platform Halal Integrated Platform, HIP. Sebuah platform marketplace digital. Yang boleh diakses oleh pemain-pemain industri halal seluruh dunia. Kita ada lebih 14,000 ahli dalam HIP. HIP ni satu platform yang saya fikir pertama bukan saja di Malaysia tapi di seluruh dunia yang menemukan pemain-pemain industri, syarikat-syarikat halal di seluruh dunia dalam platform marketplace supaya mereka dapat berkongsi maklumat serta sumber dan juga boleh membuat business matching juga dalam platform tersebut. Termasuk juga soal training dan latihan. Arahan Yang Amat Berhormat Timbalan Perdana Menteri untuk kita melahirkan lebih banyak jurudit halal. Dan kita akan bekerjasama dengan JAKIM, dengan MARA, kerana syarikat-syarikat pemain industri halal ni mereka perlu menggaji, perlu mengambil jurudit halal untuk berada dan bekerja dengan syarikat mereka supaya soal pematuhan standard itu dapat dipenuhi. Kerana perlu ada orang yang pakar yang dilatih dalam industri halal itu bekerja dan memastikan setiap kali audit halal itu mampu mereka penuhi dan patuhi.
Ya, okey. Azwan, sudah tentu banyak lagi sebenarnya kita nak bincangkan. InsyaAllah pada masa-masa akan datang kita akan terus bualkan dan fokus berkenaan dengan pembangunan halal, termasuklah difahamkan akan ada World Halal Business Conference WHBC di United Kingdom. Okey, tak apa. Saya teasekan dahulu sedikit pada 27 dan 28 Oktober 2023. Itu akan kita bawakan insyaAllah dalam masa-masa akan datang, dan sudah tentu di Niaga Awani juga kita akan terus memfokuskan kepada bagaimana untuk memacu usahawan dan juga terutama dalam konteks industri halal tempatan ini berkembang terus megah ke peringkat global, dan HDC juga berperanan besar dalam memacu menggerakkan mereka ini. Baik, terima kasih sekali lagi saudara Khairul Azwan Harun yang merupakan pengerusi HDC berkongsi pandangan beliau, dan sudah tentu sekian sahaja laporan untuk waktu ini. Pukul 11 saya akan kembali bersiaran dan anda akan terus saksikan Niaga Awani bersama dengan Temina. Selepas ini kita berhenti rehat seketika bersama dengan Temina.
Strong and long baharu, menguatkan rambut dari akar ke hujung. Biarkan panjang. Strong and long.
Generasi kini tak terhalang, perlukan perlindungan berpanjangan. Rexona 72 jam baharu dengan Active Shield Technology. Perlindungan punca peluh dan bau badan sepanjang 72 jam. Kekal segar apa jua, Rexona tak terhalang seperti anda.
All Stars Gegar Vaganza mulai 24 September di saluran-saluran berikut.
Sebenarnya digital ekonomi itu boleh dilakukan di peringkat ASEAN dan juga di beyond ASEAN ini.
Infrastruktur penunjang teknologi, backbone-nya itu bisa menjadi lebih kuat.
Why is this belief still around, especially when talking about Islam?
It means that you should be free to do what you want as long as you don't impinge on the liberty of others.
Mengapa kerajaan dan M10 memilih jabatan perangkaan?
Jadi dengan adanya integrasi ini kita akan dapat melihatkan real situasi.
Agenda Awani setiap hari di Astro Awani dan Astro Go.
Buana Sekitar Pantai Timur, jelajah JUSME akan bertemu anda di Kota Baru Kelantan. Macam-macam aktiviti menanti anda. Bengkel usahawan oleh Unify Business, Bank Rakyat dan juga TikTok Shop, perkongsian toko PKS, sesi saya jual dan macam-macam lagi. Kita jumpa 15 dan 16 September ini.
Dibawakan oleh penaja utama jelajah JUSME, Unify Business, rakan digital pilihan anda.
Hello and welcome to Niaga Spotlight with me, Tamina Kausji. Niaga Spotlight goes through the week in business and future affairs. Market watch, industries, analysis and insights, we've got you covered on Niaga Spotlight. Well, with tomorrow being Malaysia Day, this week we look at Sabah and Sarawak state economies in two focus interviews, beginning first with Sabah. Now, Sabah is the sixth largest state economy in Malaysia. GDP grew by 3.7% in 2022. With the total value amounting to 81.9 billion ringgit, surpassing 2021's 79 billion ringgit. Now, challenges for equitable economic opportunities include infrastructure, water supply and internet access and dependability. So balancing development with environmental protection is also essential to ensure economic growth is sustainable. Dr. James Allen, Faculty of Business Economy and Accountancy at University Malaysia Sabah, and Dr. Janice Nale Hui, Head of Economic Planning and Policy Centre CEDP, also at University Malaysia Sabah, joined me to discuss Sabah's economy in this Malaysia Day focus. Let's watch. Good morning, Dr. James, Dr. Janice. How are you doing? Thank you so much for making time to join us on Niaga Spotlight.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you.
Thank you for inviting us.
Wonderful. Let's get the discussion started. Dr. James, I wanted to ask you about how political stability will actually be key for Sabah's post-COVID economic recovery, given the fact also that, of course, the anti-hopping law was passed so recently, only in May 2023.
I mean, so far there wasn't any big changes in the cabinet or power struggle or anything like that, which is good. But at the same time, we think about if legislators or politicians are not performing, if the KPI is not fail, then we have no choice but to let them go. But that would need to wait until the next election. Until then, we expect them to just do their job. And the other two components of government, bureaucrats and judiciary system, they stay that way. So I think we need it. We need political stability. And we need to continue to scrutinize our politicians so that our YBs, they are doing their job. We have indicators to tell us whether they are doing or not doing it good.
Absolutely, keeping everyone accountable, right? From there, Dr. Janice, moving on to one of the basic indicators of whether or not an economy and state's economy is healthy enough, looking at some actionable solutions for Sabah's unemployment rate, which at the moment stands at about close to 30% of the overall Malaysian unemployment rate, statewide 7.7%, which is like double the national average of 3.5. Your thoughts on this?
Well, I think employment, especially for the young people, is quite serious. And as you mentioned, and it's stated, we top the chart, like we are about 29% of the total unemployment in the whole nation. So I think we seriously need to look into this issue. And I think the government has been working hard to address that as well through SMJ, with one of the pillar is looking at the human resource and so on. But I think we need to do more and even more effectively and efficiently in that effort. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And also tackling the problem of job supply while opening more job sectors and shortcomings perhaps of even broader structures like the Kota Kinabalu Industrial Park. Moving along though, let's look at infrastructure requirements for commerce, Dr. James. How is that avenue developing insofar in 2023?
Here, everyone is talking about Pan Borneo, the big highway and the long highway. The thing is, the other side in Sarawak, the Sarawak portion of Pan Borneo, they already completed it long time. But here, it's been dragged for many years. And we drive to our office every day. We see how it's like, it's just there. There's no one actually working on that site. So we wonder when it's going to be completed. Hopefully soon. Someone need to, to look into it, infrastructure. It's important because this Pan Borneo highway actually connects our industrial points from for example, from ports to industrial clusters. So without that, it's going to be difficult. Logistics can have a problem. It get expensive by the day, and this actually discourage foreign investors and also local investors. Yeah,
absolutely. So there's so many knock-on effects of just one singular massive project being completed far behind schedule. Moving along to another side of the infrastructure woes, Dr. Janice, let's talk about water supply issues and also late completion of water infrastructure projects. And of course, the recently announced allocation by the Prime Minister, 320 million. But how much does that fall short of the total needs?
Right. Before we go to this water supply issues, I think our government has been trying to, I think there is a great issue on the dam. Yeah, building the dam to overcome the water supply issues. I just would like to draw the attention. I think a few years back, even 2019, there was a scholar, our local scholar, I think Professor Felix, also suggested that maybe we do not need to look into the having the dam, because that will cause natural heritage, biodiversity, and so on, the fauna, flora that may need to sacrifice for that, building that dam. So I think we have to look into the purpose of having this, the water supply. Are we supplying the water for the people or the industry or what? So I think at the moment, the most important one to look at is for the people to have the clean water. So for example, we also noticed that at the moment, the dam in the Papa is allocated for 3 billion, for example, and they also get a lot of kind of disagreement from the local people. And I think if we are just looking at to supply the usage of for the people, we can look into other alternatives. Yeah, beside the coastal reservoir, we can also look into, because Sabah, we are not short of resources. So water, we can do those small innovation type of to have, through innovation project, we have helped many villages to have the access to clean water. So these are the things that the model that we may look into while waiting for the whatever feasibility study and so on. So we know, because those are not expensive to begin with, and would like to encourage, for example, one village, if they have got that project and got the clean water, they should have that kind of a responsibility, feeling like, okay, I should pay for my water. It's not like free of charge. So with the small payment, maybe cheaper than the one that been supplied, then they can create a fund. And that fund can be used to maintain and also later on to help for another village to have that kind of, water supply. So I think UMS also, we have done quite a few projects in Pintas and elsewhere in Sabah to provide that kind of a water supply. So my humble view is, look at what we really want to solve in prioritize. If we want usage of the people, these are the alternatives that we can look into while we are thinking on whether the dam is suitable, what are the costs and benefit for the future, and so on. Yeah, so
Sure.
that is my humble view. Thank you.
Definitely important, Dr. Janice. Thanks for highlighting that, considering that at sometimes, of course, the water shortage in Kota Kinabalu alone can go up to about 30%. Moving along from there, Dr. James, when it comes to telecommunications issues, what is the progress insofar, especially looking at household connectivity, which of course then affects economic participation, even the ability of people to have perhaps online businesses and digitalization?
Yes, I agree with you, because particularly for rural areas, our people living in far remote side of Sabah, they need internet, not only having coverage, but also strong internet for obvious reason. The children sometimes can, it will help the children in their education. They can get a lot of information. They also can be part of the, internet revolution. They can be content creator if they have, good internet. But for now, they are actually paying a lot for this, very expensive internet, but very slow and not reliable. So that one, I think, there's a lot of rooms to improve. And another area where internet can be helpful to rural area is that they can use social media to market their produce. They can use it also to access to justice. For example, we have a court, native court. A native court is the cheapest access to justice other than modern court. So if we can use online, so those villages, they don't have to spend a lot of money going to the town to appear as a witness, for example, or to have proceedings. They can just open the computer or handphone. They can actually run. They can just have a court proceeding.
Absolutely. Thank you for that, Dr. James. And I think it's really important to highlight that internet access does not always equate to internet dependability. And Sabah currently, of course, 89.6% of households have access compared to the nationwide average of 96%. Moving on from there, Dr. Janice, let's talk about tourism, ecotourism, and sustainability. And would you say that there has been an over-dependence on tourism as an economic sector, particularly looking at how there has been a lag in getting back to pre-pandemic levels for Sabah? What are some of the main challenges?
I think before pandemic, we look at this tourism as kind of a gold mine and a little bit too much on that. And we have learned the lessons that tourism, yes, they give us good income, but at the same time also have its weaknesses as what we have observed. So at the moment, on the ecotourism and so on, of course, we are picking up, but we are yet to come back to the level, the pre-pandemic level. And one thing that I must inform, especially from some of the observations, our operator, for example, in terms of the quality of, let's say, the homestay and so on, it's not being truly kept up to the standard. So sometimes when visitors come, that will create, their feedbacks need to be seriously taken into account and, improve from there. So I do hope and pray for that our tourism will pick up, but of course we will look into more sustainable and, especially our tour operator need to play their part and also being probably refreshes courses to look into the importance, what are the visitors or tourists that come to Sabah that they really emphasize and looking for. So that kind of experience, they are looking at experience, you see. So of course, cleanliness and all these are the basic things, that quality that we need to maintain all time. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thanks for that, Dr. Janice. And moving along now, Dr. James, into hydrogen economy, carbon credits, carbon trading. Looking at your specific interests around the environment and conservation, what should be some of the priorities for Sabah while you also move towards having a green energy economy?
Yes. First of all, Sabah together with Terengganu and Sarawak, we are the biggest polluters because we produce oil. So oil producer are polluters, and this one we have to have some, we need to change the way we do things, polluting not only the air, but also polluting in terms of plastics. As you know, plastic made of petroleum. So in that case, our polluters need to think about buying credits. They need to actually involve in the market, carbon market. They have to offset their pollution. Although Petronas, for example, operates in more than 30 countries around the world, they have social responsibility, not just paying tax, but also to look after, to reduce the carbon emission in many ways. So I think carbon credit is a way forward. Actually, Sabah government have strong interest. In fact, federal government already set a market, I think under KLSE, but the initial response was not really encouraging, but I think it takes time. This is a new thing. Our industries are new, they're getting used to it. But we have to do, we need to encourage them, we give them some incentives so that they can actually participate.
Absolutely. Thank you for that, Dr. James. Dr. Janice, now revisiting unemployment, but this time with a focus on women's economic participation. Women in Sabah, of course, also make up anywhere between 1/3 to half of all unemployed. What are some socioeconomic barriers that you feel would help address and also increase in tandem Sabahan women's economic as well as LFPR?
I think in terms of poverty issue, and if we tie together with women, I think one issue is very important is this single parent, single mother. So we have the biggest, I think, single mother population in Malaysia. And if we look at that, this poverty is kind of repeated, or we call the how to say poverty,
the life cycle poverty.
Poverty cycle, poverty trap, you know, what we call. So poor, and then the women, the single mother, then the children also under the poverty, and they don't have that proper kind of education, and then they get married early again, or even they got pregnant before got married or whatsoever, and these kind of things. So this is a cycle, I think, poverty threat that I think we need to address. And I read some of the scholars' ideas, and I think one, it make it very simple. There's a 3-step disease. Number one is if the sequence of the success is to come out from this poverty. Number one, you have to complete at least high school. Yeah. Then you got a job. Number two, and then number three, you got to marry before you have children. So these are a few that I find interesting for this simple 3-step, so that our young women, or they can be, all this can be reminded, like easily, like catchy, or kind of a themes for them to remember. So make it a consistent kind of way of life. That we must complete an education at least to the high school, and then get a job, and then you must marry before you have children. So these are simple things that, especially to the rural, so they can always remember and take it with them all time. So I think that will somehow address some issues of this poverty, especially in women, because we have the biggest group of the single mother poor and so on. Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Janice. And it really points to richer economic investments needed for women and girls' sexual and reproductive health and rights, because that directly ties in with economic opportunity across the life cycle. Dr. James, moving on from there into indigenous communities in Sabah and access to economic opportunities. What more do you feel needs to be done?
Well, first of all, we, the indigenous people, native, we are actually natural entrepreneur, you know. The moment we out of school, we think about how to create our own job. If you go to rural area everywhere in Sabah, you will find people try to sell things to everyone at the roadside or near to their house. So I mean, those are that entrepreneurial spirit need to be encouraged and nurtured. Although government provided many, incentive for them, but it's not somehow it doesn't reach them. It's not that they are not proactive. It's just that they're very shy people. So maybe government need to be more proactive and go and look for them. Not just wait for them to pitch what they want to sell. Self-employed is important because we are now in the recovery years, which means that our GDP is way below what we actually produced before pandemic. That means that the GDP was reduced. When GDP is reduced, it's just obvious. 2 years after that, we are not yet back to that pre-pandemic level. So job creation very slow, but it's steady. It's coming, but not enough to cater for almost 200,000 people who is looking for a job. Particularly 37,000 graduates who is still looking for a job at this moment here in Sabah. So if that 35,000 graduates, if they have a way to create their own job, that will be nice. Even if it's temporary, okay, until they get a permanent job, fixed salary like that. We don't want idle resources, okay? Labor is our idle resources. So the longer you stay at home doing nothing much, the more we lost in terms of GDP. So just that. And also, it means that whoever actually supporting this unemployed person, even if temporary, actually become poorer because you need to share your meager income just to support these individuals, right? So I'm for self-employed. Okay, it's a good thing.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for highlighting all of that, Dr. James. And moving on to some final reactions before we end the discussion. Dr. Janice first. Budget 2024 wish list. What should be at the top of the pile for Sabah?
Well, of course, Sabah, we have a lot to wish for. But I think one of it, I mean, we are in the crisis now, like having the rice issue, for example. So I think one of it that can be easily done and given, for example, is you give the license to Sabah to import their own rice. And I think Sabah is more than capable to do that. And that doesn't cost too much. So that is number one that can be easily done, and
Thank you for that, Dr. Janice. And Dr. James, what ought to be on the top of the wish list or actually be allocated towards Sabah for budget 2024?
Well, next year, we need stimulus package. Okay, not just increase in expenditure, but also there's a need to direction. We need direction, because at this moment we just muddle through. We are post crisis, but we need some strong leadership to go with that budget
Wonderful. Thank you very much for that, Dr. James. Dr. Janice, Dr. James, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so very much for taking time to join us here on Niaga Spotlight. Wishing the both of you as well and all of Sabah happy Malaysia Day.
That was Dr. James Allen, Faculty of Business Economy and Accountancy, University Malaysia Sabah, and Dr. Janice Nale Hui, Head of Economic Planning and Policy Centre CEDB, also at University Malaysia Sabah. We take a quick break now. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with Niaga Spotlight and, of course, covering Sarawak state economy on this Malaysia Day special. Stay with us.
Magnum Matcha Crumble baru. Aiskrim matcha lembut. Salutan coklat tebal dan cepisan biskut rangup. Magnum Matcha Crumble baru. Magnum, kenikmatan sejati.
Terdapat banyak kuman yang mengancam hari ini. Kerana itu, Lifebuoy dipertingkat dengan Multivitamins Plus. Mandi menggunakan Lifebuoy dengan Multivitamins Plus baru. 10 kali perlindungan kuman untuk kulit yang sihat. Lifebuoy
dengan Multivitamins Plus.
I akan masuk dalam $1 million voice.
Kalau you masuk, kita cerai.
You takkan jumpa anak you sampai bila-bila.
Cik Jo kena serahkan 100% duit kemenangan kepada Puan Suraya.
$1 million voice.
Stream di Astro dan On Demand.
Hai, saya Lahuda, kakak fiber anda. Dan hari ini saya ada satu soalan nak share dari Aida Bahar. Dia tanya, Wi-Fi cover satu rumah ke? Handphone boleh cover? Dah tentu Astro Fiber dengan router canggih Wi-Fi 6 boleh cover satu rumah, satu family boleh pakai. Bukan saja semua handphone boleh jimat data pakai Wi-Fi. Anak-anak nak buat homework online pun senang. Ini ada satu lagi tips jimat.
Past 60 years. The state's economy is now the fourth largest of all Malaysian states, entailing 9.3% of national GDP in 2022. Sarawak's economy has evolved from primary commodities and industries to a more technology-driven, knowledge and skills-based economy. Meanwhile, overcoming historic infrastructure issues can ensure equitable economic opportunity and improved living standards across the state. Dr. Evan Lau, Associate Professor, Faculty of Economics and Business at University Malaysia Sarawak, joins me online now to discuss Sarawak's economy in this Malaysia Day focus. Good morning, Dr. Evan. Thank you so much for making time for us. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
Fine, thanks. Dr. Evan, let's begin the conversation with the big question. Now, political stability as being key for Sarawak's economic recovery, with, of course, Sarawak being the fourth biggest contributor to Malaysia's GDP in 2022, just behind Selangor, Wilayah and Johor. How important is continued political stability to this?
All right. Very good morning to everyone. So, the question about political stability has always been an important, vital precondition for sustained economic growth, not just for Sarawak, but for any other countries or state in the world, or Malaysia in particularly. So in the case of Sarawak, of course, political stability has become one of the important ingredients in that sense to ensure that we can achieve the economic growth that we want and sustain with the political stability. This is because the country that has stability would be able to implement the economic plan, and of course with a greater speed and effectiveness in a much more shorter period of time. just give one example. With the political stability, a state or a country, or in this case Sarawak, will be resilient for external shock. Just give the best example of what happens for the past few years of the pandemic. So under this turmoil or the crisis itself, with the strong political stability, we'll be able to arise from this downturn and all the other challenges. So of course, the stable political environment in Sarawak would build a stronger economic buffer to be more resilient and to move forward, as what been mentioned just now earlier on, being number 4 largest in the country, and it contribute to the national GDP.
Sure. Thanks, Dr. Evan. From there, moving along into, of course, unemployment rates, as well as, of course, expanding investments in Sarawak, all key and all interlinked as well. Now, unemployment in Sarawak, in fact, has dropped to 3.7% in 2023, which is very encouraging, though it's still a little bit higher than pre-COVID rates, Dr. Evan. So let's now talk about creating job opportunities and attracting investments in Sarawak. What is key to this, and what are some recent developments that, in your view, have been encouraging?
All right, let's talk about the, of course, from the point of view of unemployment and creating more job opportunity, while at the same time attracting investment into Sarawak. Of course, the key point just now, as I mentioned earlier on, is on political stability in one sense. So that's the macro view of the whole, Sarawak here. So creating job opportunity and attracting investment is, of course, another approach. The approach that need to be capitalized by Sarawak with the unique strength while addressing the challenges like unemployment. The first one, of course, as we all, as all might know, that Sarawak over the past few years invests a lot also with the help for the federal government in terms of infrastructure development. That covers up from the land up to the digital infrastructure. That's very much important. The second one, which I would think very much important, is how we can promote further sustainable and responsible tourism in terms of ecotourism, events, and festivals that would create more job opportunities for Sarawak itself, for the people in Sarawak. The third one, which is very much related to education and skill development. So upskilling, reskilling. This is where higher education institutions like University Malaysia Sarawak would play a significant role in ensuring such talent is developed for Sarawak. And of course, that would attract more investment coming in, which is the fourth factors that I'm going to mention about attracting the FDI. So there's a lot of incentive perhaps coming into tax break, incentive for companies willing to set up the operation in Sarawak. And the fifth one, which is the last one I'm going to mention, will be talking about promoting how entrepreneurship, local entrepreneurship will be much promoted in terms of creating more job opportunities. This is very much important, as I said just now, on reskilling, upskilling to provide the opportunities, mentorship, training program for the local startup. That will be encourage more direct investment, foreign direct investment coming in also.
Yes, and speaking about that, Sarawak recorded, in fact, total investments of 32 billion ringgit and created more than 5,000 new employment opportunities in 2022. And just going through quickly, several investors also firmed up their investment intentions, submitting applications for government consideration, including for proposed basic metals for electrical vehicle components. And this is a project from Hong Kong worth 6.3 billion ringgit, and yet another one from Australia worth 900 million ringgit for EV components and such like. So it's clearly pointing to lots of FDI, lots of investment. Dr. Evan, however, though, does this point towards Sarawak being a high-income state? What about equitable economic distribution and development?
This is, having thought of the high-income state that been pointed out by the World Bank a few months back. So, talking about the equitable distribution and, of course, the development, this is very much important. Of course, it's important. This is a good so-called headline and good positive spillover about we achieving high income state. But more important also, you also raised concern about the income distribution, rural, urban development, and overall the well-being of the society. Not while we want to pursue the high status, it's significant, it should not just be the sole focus. This has been done also by the Sarawak government in terms of the Sarawak post-COVID-19 development strategies, PCDS 2030, in which the agenda prioritizes transforming socio-economic well-being by fostering sustainable and inclusive economic opportunity for all. So it's not just about achieving the high income state. And of course, in PCDS, they also recognize the importance of social indicators like education, healthcare, facilitating the human development, contributing in the end for the high sustainable high income. It's not just achieving it at one time, but we have to be sustaining so that the spillover positively will be impact for the whole society, inclusive for everyone to carry forward. So for me, this is rather crucial to carry out all the effort has been done by the state and then promote it more to ensure that also promoting environmental sustainability so that we also at the same time preserving the resources, natural resources for the future generation.
Exactly. And of course, it's important to point out that income-wise, at least, Sarawak is still clocking in a medium household income that is lower than the national average, absolutely pointing back to what you discussed, Dr. Evan. So from there, let's discuss infrastructure developments. Pan-Borneo Highway in Sarawak, it's 94% complete as at April 2023. So what will be some of the positive net benefits of Pan-Borneo Highway being fully operationalized, and any other infrastructure projects that Sarawakians are looking forward to?
Yeah, the Pan-Borneo Highway is, of course, has been discussed for numbers of years now, and finally, hopefully we can see it 100% completed this year. This, of course, the Pan-Borneo Highway will bring more opportunity as I said just now at the beginning, on the connectivity. So this is road connectivity has also been proven by, of course, our young Dipertuan Agong have just experienced the journey from Sabah to Teluk Melano here in Sarawak. So once it's been completed, everyone would know that from that point of view that this is so-called another infrastructure project. Big infrastructure project, mega infrastructure project that will also uplift the connectivity. As I saw, it will bring forward to economic growth because connectivity connects the cities, remote area, smoothen transition of goods and services and the people, and that will increase also trade. Of course, it will facilitate investment coming in, like manufacturing, tourism, and other sectors along the way of the Pan-Borneo. And as I mentioned just now, tourism sector will be much more easy access for the Sarawak tourism spots, national park, cultural sites, and pretty much that the state have focused also on much of the tourist numbers, foreign tourist numbers coming into Sarawak. And social impact, of course, it will bring the urbanization, connectivity improve, and we move forward the urban development, more access to the service, perhaps in terms of cultural exchange, and all the other spillover to the other economic sectors like agriculture, real estate, and employment as one of the main question, our concern just now. This will bring also employment and will reduce the unemployment issues, not just for Sarawak, but for the country itself. So of course, the Pan-Borneo will bring forward more benefit rather than a negative impact, as from my point of view. And I think the other big project that the government, the state are focusing on will be on the bridge connectivity between the cities. And I think the government would be also want to have a second road, other than the Pan-Borneo, to connect the major cities in Sarawak here.
It is all an interconnected web, and of note is that 526 million ringgit has been spent by the Rural and Regional Development Ministry as of June 2023 for Sarawakian infrastructure. And to summarize just this, the recurring challenges faced by agencies and ministries regarding infrastructural development in Sarawak include these locational factors, a lack of funding and investments, and a lack of coordination and cooperation between stakeholders and public resistance. So if all of these are also to be suitably addressed, then of course it moves towards a better infrastructure future for Sarawak. Dr. Evan, moving on from there into telecommunications, let's talk about the progress on perhaps the MOU which was signed in June to address telecom issues and of course the general connectivity that Sarawakians experience across the state.
All right. In terms of telecommunication infrastructure, I think this is one of the another crucial elements, and of course the challenges that can be addressed either by the of course by the Sarawak government and all the other stakeholders that you mentioned just now. We need to find the equilibrium between all these stakeholders and we move forward from there. So one of the, of course, the geographical condition in Sarawak here would make the whole thing a little bit more difficult, but not a no for the state, because all this infrastructure development, as we mentioned just now, like the Pen Borneo itself, would bring forward and also the spillover towards telecommunication, and this is very much important. In the whole Sarawak, whether we are connected through the road, through the and also through the digital connectivity. So this is the next thing, or the ongoing projects that have been done, and of course with all the MOUs and related. That talking about where to go after this, how we're going to pivot, how we're going to find the middle way of connect the communities, driving the economy, and of course providing access for everyone. And the investment of telecommunication infrastructure will be very important because the state, of course, have invested in digitalization to digitalize not just the economy, but moving forward that will bring forward more positive impact back to the growth of the country. So this also would also bridging the urban-rural divide. I believe it will do so. And with the continued investment and all the proper solution tailored for Sarawak unique challenges, that will be essential to have this full telecommunication potential that will benefit the whole Sarawak itself.
Indeed, and roughly about 6.1% of Sarawak's population, particularly those in the more rural areas, actually in fact lack sufficient internet connectivity at this point in time. Another point to add, July this year, Minister of Utility and Telecommunication, Datuk Julaihi Narawi, said the Sarawak government will be also evaluating coverage and commercial aspects of Starlink satellite broadband services for possible use in the state. We of course hope to bring some updates on that in the near future. From there, Dr. Evan, moving into offshore interests, oil and gas in particular, with Petronas Carigali delivered 6 new oil and gas discoveries across 5 blocks offshore Sarawak in July itself. What are some more investment opportunities, even for the upstream sector and exploration, that these very good discoveries bring about?
Yeah, of course, this is a very significant interest, not just for Sarawak itself, but for the country, of course, because Petronas Carigali. And from the point of view from Sarawak, from my perspective, is that this, of course, will create more investment opportunities, not just upstream, downstream, but perhaps the other state, local investment would also invest in certain parts of the sector, so that will also boost up their income. Perhaps a company, a firm would invest in this particular sector near this, the new place of discovery, and it would also bring job opportunities for the local, especially. And on the other part, also because I guess it's because we talk about the here in Sarawak itself, then this will also bring certain income towards the state itself, because Petronas would, of course, would have a deal of how we would, talk about the income and whatnot, what kind of proper percentage and whatnot coming back to Sarawak itself, which is going to be invest and going forward from there. I think that's what the way forward, and this will be bring more better opportunity for Sarawak and for the people in Sarawak.
Thanks for that, Dr. Evan. Moving in proper into what we have mentioned briefly at several points before, tourism. Now let's talk about diversification of tourism, ecotourism, as well as sustainability, particularly looking at the fact that Sarawak expects visitor arrivals to exceed 3 million target for 2023 and moving beyond leisure tourism.
Yes, tourism is rather one of the significant contributor of the income for Sarawak, and we have not just the place reached because of the ecosystem and because of the ecotourism. I would share some of the things that I would think which will be benefited and have been done by the by Sarawak itself. So we have a rich cultural place. Like Sarawak is a home of indigenous group, and of course with all these distinct tradition, festival, craft. And like, for example, the Rainforest World Music Festival is one of the famous attraction here in Sarawak itself. And what we can offer also adventure tourism, culinary tourism, and of course, health tourism, wellness tourism, which is, and to add on, sport tourism. So some would come here to run a marathon here in Sarawak. We have Kuching Marathon, Mirit Marathon, Sibu Marathon, Bintulu Marathon, and whatnot, which will bring perhaps more tourists. So this is what the state and also the local authorities will be able to tap to go further in that particular regards. And to add on a little bit on ecotourism, we have all the national park, community-based ecotourism, and of course the accommodation, and you can experience, you can stay. In the types of very much community, stay with the community and experience what they do day in, day out. So that's the big second point. The last point will be on, of course, sustainability. We have to ensure that all of this is under the purview of sustainability, means that it's environmental responsible tourism with proper infrastructure, and how at the same time we promote and want people to come in and enjoy the environment, enjoy the locals attraction. At the same time, it should be sustainable, so that this will bring forward, of course, for the next generation. Right? This is very much important for the future also.
And of course, matching also the lack of people available for employment in this specific sector. In fact, Sarawak's post-COVID development strategy for 2030 goals shows that there's about a lack of 17,500 workers for the tourism industry alone if you want to meet the year-on-year target of growth for 7 to 8% by 2025. Very interesting facts there. Dr. Evan, moving into the green hydrogen economy, of course, the new plant planned in Rembus by 2025, but it's also all about balancing ecological impact, right? What do you feel are some of the key focus areas that must be addressed in order to ensure sustainable development in this area, green hydrogen economy?
Yeah. Of course, this is green hydrogen economy is one of the new positive or the economic sector that will drive the Sarawak economy itself as a whole. And the government have invested on this particular big project itself. So it's a ongoing itself, as been mentioned in Rembus by 2025. So we have to strike the balance. I agree that we have to strike the balance and find the equilibrium, the balanced approach. We grow, and at the same time it's sustainable for the locals, because to build this plant and whatnot, environmental concern will be one of the issues there. But I believe that with the proper planning, the engagement, community involved, all the stakeholders involved, we can find the types of balance which have been ongoing with this project itself. beside what we have of hydroelectric dam and related. So this is another form of income for the state. So a proper planning is very much important. The implementation is very much important to safeguard and to achieve the balance and to sustain the economy.
Sure. And Dr. Evan, just to end off, what would be the Budget 2024 wish list, top of it, for Sarawak?
As been said, the Budget 2024 or even for the Budget 2023, the government do provide some necessary development infrastructure and investment for the state itself. So I'm pretty sure that I feel that one of the priorities still will be on the Sabah and Sarawak, and Sarawak in particular. So not just on the investment, not just on the development projects, but of course now we can channel more towards the people, addressing the middle income, the small medium industry, which is also important not just for Sarawak but for the whole country. But Sarawak in particular, the continuing of the support from the federal at the same time under the Rancangan Malaysia ke-12, so that it will focus more on how we can move forward much more faster to bring forward all this to recognize the growth of the Sabah and Sarawak and Sabah also to be inclusive with the other states in West Malaysia, and to provide the necessary better, much more opportunity of job and meaningful salary for equitable opportunities for everyone. I think that's one of my wish lists, which I think will be tabled, the budget 2024 will be tabled next month.
Excellent. Thank you so very much, Dr. Evan, for sharing all those insights with us. Of course, we wish you Selamat Hari Malaysia, Happy Malaysia from all of us here to everyone in Sarawak. That was super insightful. That was Dr. Evan Lau, Associate Professor, Faculty of Economics and Business with University Malaysia, Sarawak. Now, this has been Niaga Spotlight with me, Tamina Kausji. We'll see you next Friday with more business analysis and insights. Here's to a productive week ahead. And once again, Selamat Hari Malaysia to all Malaysians.